This multi-discipline event, which includes showing, carriage driving, dressage and show jumping, has a long and rich history dating back to 1965 when Ernie Hayward won the first jumping derby.
This derby was held in Inanda Club, 1965, and Peter Peterson's Bahira won it for me with a fantastic jump off round. She was 21 years old, and you know that she was the most fantastic athlete. That's why I was able to use her. She was difficult to handle because she had a hard mouth.
The most successful show jumper with 6 wins, spanning 4 decades, is the iconic Gondabetrix.
The Derby is a very special competition because it's unusual. They don't have the normal show jumping jumps. Obviously they have show jumping jumps, but then they also have a bank, they have a dike, they have a very, very large wide water jump, they have the steps, they have some very wide spreads. It's quite a fast time, it's a very long track. So it is very different and it's very testing for horse and rider.
Mickey Lowe won the Derby 4 times, in 1970, 71 and 72 riding Torch Sign, and in 1977 on Xenophon.
No one had jumped a clear round in the Derby for the first 5 years that the Derby was run. In 1970, there were 5 of us that jumped clear rounds. I had 2, Wendy Grayson had 2 and Theo LaRosse had 1, and I was lucky enough to win the jump off. And then Torch Sign won it again, 71 and 72. He was an amazing horse. He was great at everything, and particularly in the Derby. He actually only jumped in the Derby 3 times and won it each time.
Ronnie Lawrence has tasted victory on 4 occasions, on 4 different horses. His first coming in 1989.
Obviously, your first Derby, well, when I was jumping High Hopes.
This is his last problem.
Although she was on form and going well, it was my first Derby honour. And although she had won it previously with a previous rider some years back and then went through a really bad dip in her career, it was my first Derby with her. And I can remember sort of starting number 1 and going round and thinking, I'm clear. And when I jumped the double of gates, the white gate, and I was just coming at that last fence, that big rustic, it was like, is it going to really happen? You know, and I jumped that, the crowd went absolutely mad. And she was so good that I think if I'd started number 1 again, she would have just gone and done the same again. She was so in form, and it was a bit of a windy day. I remember warming up outside before we went in. They had to hold some of the wings because they were being blown over. So it was a great day.
Barry Taylor has also won the Derby 4 times, on Checkpoint, Sunday's Eagle and twice riding Avalanche.
The most memorable moments of the Derby for me was obviously the first time I won it. It had taken me many years. I'd been second 7 or 8 times, if I remember rightly, before I won it. Also just the great days of the Derby. You know, I think I've ridden in 34 Derbies now, close on 34 Derbies. 32 Derbies, seen 36 Derbies in my life. So I've just seen the great horses that have won the Derby, you know, from Gonda's great horses, Peter Gotts. I was lucky to see Mickey, not on his 3-time winner, but on his other horse. So I've seen all the great horses, all the great riders win the Derby. It's just a spectacle of a day, and memorable that I was part of it.
Gail Foxcroft is a 3-time winner. Her first 2 victories riding By and By, and her 3rd coming on Lindenberg.
By and By was the first horse I won the Derby on, and he was a big chestnut thoroughbred, and he was a fantastic horse. He belonged to my late fiancé, Lachlan McLaughlin, and he did exceptionally well in the big classes with him. By and By won with Lachlan in 1982, and then with me in 87 and 1990. I think the most special time with him was 1990 because it was his last show, and I decided before the show to retire him. And I mean, he really went out with a bang. He was exceptional.
Peter Gotts also won on 3 occasions. His wins coming in 1975, 86 and 94, all on different horses.
Winning the Derby is one of the ultimate accolades, for the simple reason that the Derby is a totally unique competition that happens traditionally once a year. Not as with Grand Prix, you move from arena to arena and you get to jump similar courses and in similar environments, but the Derby is totally unique because it just happens once a year.
Nicole Horwood is the defending champion and has had 3 consecutive wins riding Capital Don Camargo.
I think my most memorable moment was definitely my first win in 2012. It was my first derby as well as Capital Don Camarco's first derby, so we didn't know what to expect. I was very anxious, a little bit nervous. We were second last to go, and my goal was just basically to get through the finish safely. So as I went over the last fence and realized I had jumped a clear round, it was pretty amazing and very exciting.